heartbroken community after officials say a gunman opened fire inside a Dollar General store in Jacksonville, Florida, killing 3 people before taking his own life. All 3 of the victims were black. Police say the suspect was motivated by hate when he walked into the store Saturday afternoon wearing a mask and tactical vest.
Plainly put, this shooting was racially motivated and he hated black people.
In writings left behind by the gunman, who is described as a white man in his early 20s, authorities say he described his hateful ideology. This picture, released by the sheriff's office, shows swastikas drawn on the AR 15 style rifle he used to carry out the attack.
We stand together as a community. We live together as a community. We fight together as a community. And when someone comes into our city and does this, we're not going to stand for it and we don't accept it.
Welcome, friends. Welcome this Sunday afternoon, this bittersweet Sunday afternoon, which should be considered a lovely day, but not for some. Not for those that are going through sadness and reeling from anger and frustration right now in Jacksonville, Florida. Another senseless killing, right? This time a racially motivated senseless killing in Jacksonville, Florida. A deliberate racially motivated attack. And I tell you, there's been a lot more homegrown terror attacks that has been happening by the minute as we speak. And we're wondering what's going on and who's there to help do something about it. Before we go into our discussion, let's bring in our panel today. Co-host of the Esteban Hours Week in Review and Sound Offs, and also author and activist. Then we have Mike Felino, co-creator and co-producer and contributor to the Week in Review. And our new guest commentator today is Luke Kang from the Age Group podcast. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going. First, welcome to the show, Lou, for your first time. Thank you for joining us today. And welcome back, fellas, Jeremy and Mike.
What's up?
Day, isn't it?
It's sad we have to talk about this again.
We should be hanging with our families and enjoying the day, getting ready for the week. But nope, here we are again. Over a census killing, over racial tension, over people who are just shopping, going about their business, shopping, and they wind up losing their lives. It's a sad thing. So we have this gentleman. It's a white man, armed white man with a high-powered rifle and a handgun. He killed 3 Black people at a Dollar General store in Jacksonville, Florida, on Saturday before shooting himself. It's been said that this murder was racially motivated. This gentleman hated Black people, and in fact was public about it. He did not shy away from his feelings against or regarding African Americans. And therefore, he went into this store and shot three people. And before going into this store, he allegedly went into a historical Black college, and I assume tried to do something there. And when that was unsuccessful, he carried out his terror in this store. So let's discuss this, gentlemen. First, we'd like to give our condolences from the Esteban Hour to the members of all 3 individuals who sadly lost their lives. Our prayers and our hearts are with all of the family members. As you can see in the beginning of that video, the sadness and the heartbreak that they all must be feeling, and that we across the country are feeling for them. Because it doesn't matter whether if you're Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, we all feel the same way. Heartbreak, hurt, anger, sadness, to lose a loved one or a family member who just simply went out for the day, did a couple of errands, was trying to buy a couple of things for their household, and winded up losing their lives over the mental breakdown and racial anger of an individual who decided to take his racial anger out on innocent folks. Let me start with you guys, Mike and Jeremy first. As being Caucasian men, how these stories like this one, how does this affect you?
It makes me angry actually, because I hate stuff like this. I'm tired of the perpetual hate in this country. For some reason, people are living in this ideology. They want this white only country, which is obviously never going to happen. It's the dumbest thing in the world. But you have people at the top of the food chain, political food chain, perpetuating this nonsense. And you have gullible, easily influenced people biting into all of this, going down the rabbit hole, all the way down the rabbit hole. And then this is what you get. Every single act of violence almost is coming from the right, probably in the 90s, like the 90th percentile is coming from the right. And it's all perpetuated by the top. And I'm not going to say his name on this show, damn it, because he's not part of the show. But it starts at the top and just trickles its way down. And then you get people like this carrying out acts of violence. They don't even know why they hate these people. They're just told to hate them people. So like, oh, I was told to hate them because of this reason, so I'm going to go hate them. That's how these people think. It's very close-minded, no ability to do any kind of critical thinking, reasoning, like all that stuff's out the window with these people.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Man, I'm trying to think, which direction to go in with my opinion, because when you see something like this, I try and actually listen to my emotions, which is usually what you try not to do. So I could go into the Second Amendment thing, right? Where the only amendment that counts to these people is the second. They like to talk about the first, but the second is more important, and damn all the rest of them. I could do that. I could talk about how we shouldn't have these weapons, these mass murder weapons on the street, because they they on the right like to say, this isn't a military weapon. It's not an automatic weapon. The AR stands for armor light rifle. I know that. I don't care. But these are all logical arguments that don't mean anything. What I want to say is that I think at some point, you saw in the beginning of that video, people coming together. Esteban, you pointed that out. And I think that's important because as more and more of these horrible things happen and the community of people that is suffering from this violence grows, let's face it, we're getting to the point where it's not that many degrees of separation before everyone in this country is going to know someone that got killed because of a mass shooting. And at some point, even though it shouldn't take this degree of national tragedy to cause change, maybe we're going to get to the point where enough people feel it and not have to think about the logic, but just feel miserable because of all of this useless death, that maybe will finally change something. So logic be damned.
Just like there's a president's club and a Congress club and a Senate club, you have the club of murdered victims, whether it's children, gay people, Black people, Asian people, migrants. You have a club of nothing but innocent murdered people that their families have no choice to join.
Yep.
Just real quick before Lou steps in here, I mean, we're doing a story tomorrow on our weekend review regarding, a shop owner that was killed because of her pride flag. It's the same thing. Even though she wasn't part of the LGBTQ community, she gets killed because she was an ally because of a flag. So we'll obviously talk about that more tomorrow. But that's the stuff that's happening right now.
And you're basically saying you don't even need to be gay to be killed. You don't even need to be Black to be killed. You
just
can be
supportive.
You just need to be on someone's corrupted mind that they don't like, and boom, you're dead.
Yep. Yep. I mean,
Exactly.
it's no more just shopping while black, right? That was the thing,
Right.
working while black, fishing while black. We saw that video a week or two ago. But now we're getting to the point, I guess it's like kind of what I was saying, where everyone now isn't just necessarily a target. There's almost no target. It's becoming so vast, the number of targets, that it almost seems indiscriminate, because anyone at any time could be a victim of some lunatic that hates one particular group that shopped at this store, or goes there, or goes to that baseball game that happened the other day over the weekend, or goes. It's just too much. It's getting ridiculous.
Now, I have a different question to ask Lou, because Lou and I are the minorities on the panel. So,
Mhm.
Lou, as a minority, just as I am, how do these circumstances or the instances affect you when you hear these things going on around our country?
I guess more than I kind of live in a state where everyone is kind of, you know, not so in favor of guns, and also a little more live and let live. But it doesn't. I haven't been personally affected by something like this. Like you guys said, though, the degrees of separation. Um, I have heard stories of people having to evacuate places, malls. Actually, I was working out here, and there was a bomb threat at the mall one time. But what it does is it serves more as like a reminder that we don't live in like a la la land, happy land where everyone gets along and stuff, and that
Right.
there is. It's kind of shocking to me a little bit that there's still people that just think so backwards
Is
and
it really?
Right.
illogical.
Right. It is to me too. Absolutely.
It should be shocking. I hate that I have an apathy for it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was going to say that,
exactly.
because you're right, Mike. It should be shocking, but is it really shocking? Because it's happening way too many times now.
I don't. It's called the laws of diminishing effect. Like you could watch. Uh, it's like the first time you do something, you know what I mean? Something, say you do something terrible, you feel guilty, you feel awful the first time. You keep doing that stuff over and over again.
Mhm.
Eventually, you don't feel it as bad. You know what I mean? Eventually, it's like a decrease. So it's the same thing. We're becoming numb to the violence and the hate because we see it so often. And I say that we should tell ourselves not to. We should make it a point in this goddamn country to say enough is enough. Whether we're white, black, Asian, Hispanic, it does not matter. We should be Americans. That's what I'm worried about. All Americans. It doesn't matter. Like I just don't. I'm with
And
Lou. I
there
don't get it. The hate in this country. It's
and
absolutely insane.
and there aren't enough leaders, especially on one side or on the side that these terrorists look up to. There are not enough of them that speak up to denounce these actions and to say this is wrong. And you
Mhm.
should not do this. And if you do this, you will be arrested and charged to the fullest extent of the law. There are not enough folks on the right who are telling their constituents that, and their
Mhm.
followers and their supporters. And I think that is why a lot of us are numb to these situations, and these situations are happening at a faster pace than ever in history. Because we don't have the bipartisanship that we should have when it comes to these kind of issues. It's wrong to kill someone based on their culture or the color
Mhm.
of their skin, period. It doesn't matter what party you belong to. But the issue or the problem is you have one side that either doesn't understand that, but they do understand that, or it doesn't fit their narrative. So they know that these things shouldn't be happening. They know that people shouldn't be killing others based on the color of their skin, but they're afraid to say that because perhaps maybe some bigots or racists in their own communities might threaten to kill them if they were to
Mhm.
speak out. But it's wrong. There's not enough discussion and anger towards the individuals that are feeling this way. For example, at this very moment, there is one or more persons that is sitting around thinking exactly what that gunman did yesterday. because that's
Mhm.
going to be the gunman who's going to do next week's incident, or next
Who
month's
was
incident, or next
who
year's incident.
who was the guy that they this was just a couple months ago shot up the mall, I think it was, had swastika tattoos all over
Yeah.
him and just
Well,
You
you
at
can't
this
even
point
keep
you
it
got to
track.
be more specific.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just
no,
gonna
I
say
know
that.
that's a shame. Like I should be able to just say that and go, oh yeah, okay.
What
Yeah, I
scares
should have
me,
to.
what scares me about all of this is we can talk about the laws, we can talk about the leadership, which are horribly lacking. But this guy killed himself. Okay, he wasn't chased down and got killed in a shootout, which happens all the time in these instances too. But when I'm just noticing that when these attacks are specifically motivated by a hate or
Mhm.
racism, not just some sort of, I guess, run of the mill random acts of violence, but when these are really motivated, these people kill themselves, which means they're going into this with enough resolve to not care what the law says. They're not going to do, oh, I might not, I shouldn't kill anyone because I might get the death penalty. No,
Mhm.
these
Right.
people have already had their brains reshaped either from when they're born and they learned it, because let's face it, racism is hereditary. Okay, it's
Yeah.
the greatest gift that keeps on giving. You keep passing that along and everyone sees it, and oh, it was okay, grandpa just says that. No, grandpa says that because he's a racist.
Yep.
Okay, I grew up with that. I had some people in my family that would say things. My mom would do the ears thing, and I still heard it, and I was like, Mommy, what's that? Don't Uncle, whatever, he comes from another time. Yeah, a racist time. Well, we're still in that time because these things are happening because of racism. The guy had swastikas on his gun because of racism, because these people
Mhm.
idealize Hitler and all these horrible monsters
Mhm.
because that's all they know. No law is going to stop them.
Well said, Mike. Absolutely well said. Lou, if you were to get a phone call from a family member to say that one of your family members was shot and killed in a store or a movie theater, how would that make you feel?
Oh, obviously terrible, and I would just be questioning a lot of things. But here's the thing: all of these happen. They're like so illogical. There's really no making any heads or tails of it. So like it's really hard to know like how to feel. There's so many different emotions. There's the political aspect. There is the mental health aspect. There is the just how divided we are as a people, and how um like incubated we've been. And especially with COVID the last couple years, some people learned to make bread, some people went on YouTube and became racist, and
Yeah.
Right.
it's like really hard to just, there's so many different factors. I don't even know where I would begin, what the
And
first feeling would be,
if these things continue to happen and at a fast pace that they have been happening, do you think that this may lead us into some type of, I don't know if civil war is the right term for it, but fighting back? Do you see Black people one day getting up and fighting back? Do you see the same type of white nationalist terrorists being converted into a Black form of terrorism against white people?
I think the way I think the way our government is set up, that would be hard to do, just because anytime you see a group of Black or brown people walking around with guns, it's gonna shock some people. It's really, it doesn't, we don't really get too far that way.
Yeah,
Um,
no.
Right.
but I do think, to quote another comedian, Dave Chappelle. Um, he had a very simple point, but it was very poignant, which is, if you really want to make political change, every Black and brown person needs to go and register for a legal firearm, and things will change. Trust me,
I
things will
I
change.
Yep.
Yeah.
I so agree with that. I so agree with that. Because there is talk that goes around that of where they're saying that is one of the behind points of white nationalists, of
Mhm.
why guns are so frequent and prevalent, right? That you can get your hands on guns for that day that there is a war.
Yep.
Or that there is a war between cultures or between parties, right? And so you have one side that feels confident that they'll prevail because of the millions of guns that are in their hands. So what about the blacks and Hispanics and the Asians?
What's funny about that, and I did not come up with this phrase because it's a truth that I think a lot of people have just noticed, and it's something I've been hearing a lot. They really think Democrats don't own guns. What they don't understand is that now I don't own a firearm. I'm also not a Democrat. I'm just on the left of things, but I don't own a firearm for a number of reasons. Doesn't matter. The point is, I know a lot that do, and I know that number would be fake news to the Republicans. They would never believe it. MAGA especially, they literally think that if you aren't a hateful monster like them, that if you touched a gun, it would burn you. Like a vampire in the sun.
Right.
They actually believe that. Like, no, really, because they don't understand that the guns aren't what we're complaining about when we are complaining about the guns. I know that's ridiculous. Like Lou said about mental health, you also have to be very picky and choosy about who gets guns. You go to a place like Germany, you can get a gun, or is it Japan? You could have a gun, but it takes years for you to get qualified to have a gun, and you have to maintain your certification. Okay, that's what gun control is to me. Okay, yes, we don't want AR-15s on the street. You want a handgun, you should be trained to use it. You should need insurance just like a car. Okay, sorry, it should be treated like homeowners insurance, right? You're defending your castle. Okay, get homeowners insurance,
or at least some kind of test, you know.
Those are
like you have to get a test to get your driver's license to operate a damn car. You should at least have a competency test to get a freaking gun. Background check is easy, so if you haven't committed a crime,
those are
if you're incompetent, you should not own a gun.
That all other countries seem to have, except for the United States,
because it's our Second Amendment. They just said we're allowed to have automatic weapons. It said you could have a musket. Automatic weapons. Their brains don't work. They just
remind everybody that when the Second Amendment was written, a trained soldier, a highly trained soldier, could shoot 3 rounds a minute. Not a second, a minute. Okay, so things are different now. So regulations, like I hate as soon as you say we're going to regulate the guns, everybody on the right, they're going to take away our guns. No, dipshit. We're just trying to make it safer for other people to live in a society with idiots with guns. That's all we're trying to do.
What Mike said was right, that a lot of there are Republicans that just don't believe that Democrats own guns, which is ridiculous and stupid. Because first of all, there is a certain percentage of black folks in every red state. Okay, and then you have the blue states. I am in a blue state. I am a gun owner. Okay, I am for the Second Amendment rights. I would never, ever vote on doing away with guns or getting rid of guns. But that doesn't mean that I would go for just throwing guns into anybody's hands. We need better regulations in this country. Our children are dying. Our loved ones are dying. Okay, if you left it to a specific party, they would wipe out the entire gay community.
Yeah,
come on.
I agree
with their guns.
With their guns. So where is there a stop factor here? Now we know where that is. We need both sides to come together and join hands in coming up with sensible gun laws. But we just can't seem to do it because there are those that just want more and more and more guns, and they close their eyes like this. Every time there's a shooting, they do this, and every time a child dies, they do this. Come on.
Yeah, you got people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and others and Lauren Boebert walking around with AR-15 pins on while they're in Congress. I mean, seriously, they've had three hearings on gas stoves this year and have had exactly 0 on gun control.
Well, these are
or
the same
gun
people
violence,
that
or even to just acknowledge that this is going on. Nothing. Not a
they
goddamn thing.
venerate a Kyle Rittenhouse who is known solely for going across state lines with a automatic weapon. I don't care if it's semi or not, it's a freaking automatic weapon to go kill people because he was what, protecting a grocery store out of state? No, he went there because he thought he could make his name expressing his Second Amendment right to kill black people. That's what he thinks the Second Amendment is, that you can kill anyone that you think is your enemy. It's not about protection. It's about who do you hate and who do you have a right to kill. That's what they see the Second Amendment does.
Except that if it's reverse, throw that person in jail. They are murderers. They look what they did. They broke the law. Give them the death penalty if the situation is reversed. It's absolute hypocrisy. And through it all, our people are dying. Our people are literally dying over it. Yeah. So this gentleman, it's been described that he was wearing a tactical vest, which means he was going into a war zone. He was looking for a fight.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times, I think this kind of speaks to the mental health thing, and just the way our country's set up is we're so like devoid of like purpose a lot of times. Like, I'm so happy that I found stand up and podcasting and doing this, but there's a lot of people out there that are just kind of floating and they end up in these like YouTube rabbit holes, and they adopt this ideology that shouldn't be theirs. It isn't theirs, and so when they carry out these things, they dress up like they're going to war to serve their purpose, to die for their cause or whatever. And I think that's also why they end up taking themselves out.
He had several manifestos for the media. He informed his parents of what was on his mind. And he detailed that he really hated black people. So my question would be, where does this come from? Where does this stem from? We don't know yet because this is still an ongoing story. So we don't know the connection between the parents and the families and his upbringing, whether it was from a racial point of view or not. But just by going by the political warfare today, it's sad. What else? And I wish if Donald Trump was in front of me. I know what you're gonna say.
Damn it!
I did. If he was
Voldemort.
in front of me, my question to him would be, what are you expecting to happen or to overcome with the rhetoric that you push on television? Because we know that everything he does, he's doing it for his own selfish reasons. We get that. Yeah. We understand that. But does he actually psychologically and mentally understand what it's doing outside of his realm, of his bubble?
I don't think so.
No, even if he did, he wouldn't care. But you said something very important, and I only say that this is important not because he deserves it, but you said the word Trump, and what does he think? Well, I'll tell you what he thinks, because I've made a bunch of posts on this for the past couple of years. I can't tell you how many ads on Grift Social are for tactical gear. Literally tactical vests, tactical knives. I've even seen zip tie ads. Now, what the hell are you advertising on that social media platform zip ties for? Okay, I've seen knives, and they literally say the word tactical, advantage, enemy. They're literally selling what you just said, Lou. Almost the dark web mentality of someone else's sick ideology, whether it's intentionally being spread or whether there's just these nut jobs that lesser nut jobs find their way to and glom to because they're their little spiritual leader. But this whole concept of political warfare and hatred and all of this race war, right? There's another Manson reference if you're keeping track with Trump. I mean, all of this is a coordinated effort. Donald Trump would not care because he's using it to grift. The Republicans don't care because they use it to get votes. All they are doing is using these poor, often mentally ill people that are in already limited situations, right? We're going to start getting rid of race in school. We're not going to talk soon. They're going to teach people that no one else exists other than what looks in the mirror. Okay, so all of these are interplaying, interconnected efforts, whether conscious or not, to breed foot soldiers. And that's what we're seeing is foot soldiers.
Yeah, shaking cages and pointing at the other cage.
Yeah,
They did it.
Exactly.
yeah. It's also said that the hate that motivated the shooter's killing spree adds an additional layer of heartbreak. And that's an understatement to say that. But I want to bring up another point. This dude was 21 years old. Does anyone, not does anyone, can anyone recall that recently one of the Republican candidates has imposed an idea of raising the voting age from 18 to 21 or 25.
25.
Right? 25.
Yeah, 25.
Okay? And we know why. Because a lot of the Gen Zs and young people today are not trying to hear what the Republicans are selling. But here's my point. 21 years old, this killer, 21 years old with an AR-15. Why are our Republicans not for raising the age for a young person to buy a firearm? But they'll raise the age to vote, which is every American's right. And possessing a gun, according to the Second Amendment, is everyone's right as well. But can you see the hypocrisy? Guns that are killing, and then votes that are just voting. So no to votes that are voting. No harm done to everybody who's not a Republican. But then you have the guns that are killing, but they're okay with that. What's your opinions on that? And I'd like to hear the opinion from each gentleman.
Go ahead, Mike.
I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to achieve. I don't know what the end goal is, but
God damn it.
There's got to be a way to. There's got to be a way to. And unfortunately, I think I said it to start that I think the only way is that there's going to be enough heartbreak. But you have people that are ignoring basic human rights, right? This is unfortunately, we're talking about a political party that is trying to remove women's rights, make sure that little girls can get pregnant, make sure that every boy has a gun in their hand, make sure we don't teach about slavery or inequality. What are they trying to create? Okay, this goes beyond laws. This goes beyond an ideology even. This is almost a religion to these people, creating an alternate America where the South won, okay, and racism is the law, and everyone could just shoot everyone that steps on their lawn.
Right.
That's what they're creating. Not a peaceful America, not a bring me you're tired, you're poor, you're yearning. No, they're trying to build a hateful white America.
And an America that our generation is not used to, right?
And doesn't want.
And doesn't want, at least us, because there are some that were raised this way. They were raised to be haters. They were raised to be racist and biased. But most of us were not. Most of us were taught history on our ancestors in slavery and also throughout the civil rights movements. So we know what to do, what not to do, what to look for, what not to look for. And we don't like anything that those on the right are selling. But we don't have a choice because it's up front. In front of us, right? We have to deal with these homegrown terrorists, do we not?
Yeah, unfortunately. And
so, what can be said or what can be done to prevent these? Do we continue? Do we just look over our shoulders now? Now, whenever we go to the movie theater, to the car wash, to the supermarket, do we constantly just look behind us and pinpoint every odd looking person that maybe is that a murderer? Is that a killer? Is that how we live our lives now?
That's what they want to. Fear
I
and
hope not.
mistrust.
Yeah, they're not going to get me afraid. I don't care what they want to do. I'm tired of
Yeah.
living. I used to live my whole life in fear. I'm not going to be afraid of these chumps. I'm sorry. They can kiss my ass. I don't want, you know what I mean? I'm not afraid to say it because I'm
That's what I
honestly tired of this shit. I'm tired of them ripping our country apart, and I'm tired of this nonsense. They want to abuse the Constitution. They want to abuse the laws. They want to bend them to their will, and it's bullshit. It's literally bullshit. And like you said before, they're the minority. We, the progressives, the one that want unity and equality, we are the majority in this country. And I just hope that this brings us together before they rip it apart. That's all.
And let's not forget, which is still fresh in a lot of people's minds, the incident that happened in the supermarket up in Albany, New York,
Yep.
where there were
Yeah, really.
multiple fatalities of African Americans up there.
Yep.
It's got to stop. It has to stop one way or another. If both sides of the political stream cannot come together to do something about this, then one of those sides needs to be voted out of office. And more folks that care about humanity need to be brought in to get to the table and talk some sense into each other. Last remarks, guys.
Go ahead, Lou. I think it's Lou's turn.
Yeah, my last remarks would be kind of to emphasize the first part of your last point, Esteban, which is I think we need to come together as a country and like kind of try to do away with these extremes, because there are extremes on both sides. Obviously those extremes land differently on different topics, but I do think that if we continue to treat politics as our religion, as our complete identity, and forget our neighbors, and forget the people down the street and the guy that works at the store and all this stuff, and instead of trying to relate on a human level, we put them in categories. Oh, you're this person, you're this type of person, you're this type of person. Makes it a lot easier to target types of people. You know what I mean? So I think we should try to just, I feel like in this country everybody wants everything that they want to work out, and in compromise, it's some people, you win on certain aspects, you lose on certain aspects. So I think if we all kept that in mind, it would be a lot easier. But it's like trying to get cats and dogs to stop fighting at this point.
And you being from Los Angeles, Rodney King's favorite line: why can't we all just get along?
Right.
Why? What's the problem? You got 350 million Americans. What's the problem? If you don't like someone, look the other way. Go home. Stay home.
Yeah.
Okay.
There used to be a thing called manners. You used to mind your manners.
Yeah,
that doesn't
mind
exist
your
anymore.
own damn business.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Mind your own damn business. Now you put your mind in other people's businesses and you want to shoot them and kill them over it. It's incredible. Last words, Mike.
Whatever happened to just punching each other?
Yeah.
Right? A good old ass whooping, man. Come on.
There's nothing more humbling than seeing a nosebleed and feeling that numbness when you got out of line and someone smacked you in the face. Now, I'm not advocating violence, but one side is advocating killing each other. Right. And unfortunately, I think the one side that is really, really hunkering down and fostering the hate and the fear, which are incredibly powerful emotions. It's unfortunate, but I think grief might be the one that'll win out. And I swear, if we just get sick of being this miserable feeling every time, not only that we see someone on the news getting killed because of this bullshit, but every time we're afraid to go to a sporting event, every time we're afraid to go, to that Halloween parade, every time we're afraid to go anywhere, that fear is gonna bubble up, and I hope that galvanizes us. But I just hope it doesn't take that. But I think that's what it's going to take. So yeah, let's just try and get along a little better.
And to answer to whatever happened to punching in the face, well, they're going to the guns, because if he was to go out into the street and pick at any old black man, We know how that
Throw the
would.
hat up. Throw the hat
Yeah,
up.
throw the hat up.
Yeah.
I got a
Avengers
folding
assemble.
chair right on the other side of my desk, baby.
We
Let's
know
go.
how that would
I'm
turn
an
out.
ally. Let's go.
Could you
And
imagine?
Down.
Could you imagine a time before guns where somebody would walk into a room and say, "Hey, I'm gonna fight all 30 of you"? You're not gonna win. You're not gonna win unless you're Batman. You're, you're out of here,
Right.
bro.
Batman didn't use guns.
Oh yeah,
No, he
true.
didn't. Not at all. He didn't even like killing people.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you,
All
gentlemen.
right.
This, we put a little humor into it, but we all know that this is a serious topic, a
Definitely.
serious topic that we've been discussing more often lately, and we really shouldn't. Like Mike said, this is not the America that we know of or that we were raised to live in, but this is where we are right now. And so we have no choice but to deal with the cards that we're dealt, right? And
Mhm.
continue to hope for change. And that hope and change comes with actions to change, right?
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining, Lou.
Thank
You
you.
will be
Thanks for
on
having me.
many more times in the future. Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Jeremy, as usual.
Absolutely.
So
Anytime.
my closing thoughts. We're living in a world where this is prevalent these days. Homegrown terrorism is here and it is real. And unfortunately, until we have some sensitive adults in the room, and that room is Congress, these are the things that we might be forced to go through. And as Mike on the panel mentioned, maybe it's the grief that will overwhelm us into doing something about it. Now, from my personal point of view, I love white people. I love black people. I love Hispanics. I love Asians. I love Muslims. I love Christians. I love everyone. I wish that there were more Americans that would be able to say the same thing. And there are many who can say that rather than the minor who cannot. But we need to say that more. Love thy neighbor. It is okay if you're different from me. It's okay if you speak a different language than me. It's okay if your skin is lighter than mine. I will go home to my house. I hope to go home to my family, and I want you to to be able to go home to yours. Again, we at the Esteban Hour, we issue our condolences, our love, our hearts, and our prayers to the family that are going through this devastating period. I will say there are going to be a lot more families that will be undergoing this grief. And all I pray is for the strength for them to help do something about it, and to make their way through this process, this grieving process as best as possible. We are all grieving for these three Americans. The entire country is grieving. When a homegrown terrorist kills one person or murders one person, they murder us all. Okay, it affects us all. It is a family to all of us because it could be any one of us. With that said, I wish everyone a good evening. Hug and kiss your loved ones, your children, your parents, your grandparents, your spouse, your brothers, your siblings, your sisters, everybody, because tomorrow is not promised to any one of us. If you had a goal that you achieved or accomplished today, don't forget to say to yourself, this is how we do it.